Berkshire County in Massachusetts held numerous executions since its founding in 1761. Of these executions, two were held within the walls of the Second Street Jail. The first was the execution of John Ten Eyck. On the morning of November 30th, 1877, the bodies of David and Sarah Stillman would be discovered in their home. Their young farmhand, John Carey Jr., found David Stillman on the couch, lifeless and drenched in blood. After discovering the corpse, Carey Jr. ran to the Stillman's neighbor, James Roraback, to get help. Following the blood trail smeared on the walls, Roraback went into the basement and discovered the remains of Sarah Stillman. David and Sarah had been murdered, having received multiple axe wounds to their skulls. The scene had been described as one of the most brutal human butcheries ever committed in New England. John Ten Eyck was convicted of the double murder because he had been at the Stillman's farmhouse the day prior. Any previous convictions involved drinking, however, he was described as a non-violent person. In May of 1878, Ten Eyck was sentenced to death after the jury deliberated for a few short minutes. Despite Ten Eyck professing his innocence, on August 16, 1878, at 10:45 a.m., a black hood was placed over his head and his sentence was carried out. Ten Eyck's body was released to his father for burial. However, his father had other ideas. Ten Eyck's body was placed on display for onlookers to view at a price of 10 cents per view. When the family had found out, they were outraged and demanded a proper burial. Ten Eyck's father threw a lavish burial, of which the family knew he could not pay for even with the $15 he earned from displaying his son's corpse. Ten Eyck's father had filled the coffin with rocks equivalent to his son's weight, sealed it, then sold the corpse to a doctor in Connecticut for dissection. The money earned in the sale of the corpse was used to fund Ten Eyck's funeral. It is not known if the body of John Ten Eyck has ever been recovered and properly placed to rest. His last recorded statement was, "They are the facts, and as I told the jury nothing but the truth in any form, that is all I have to say, sir." In October of 1893, the dismembered body of John Whalen was discovered by a man and his dog walking on a trail through the backyard of William Coy. Since John Whalen was a boarder at Coy's home, an investigation commenced. Whalen's mattress was riddled in deep cuts and the headboard was covered in blood. The medical examiner was unable to determine a cause of death due to the extreme mutilation of the body. Immediately, Coy was the primary suspect, which led to his arrest and incarceration at the Second Street Jail. After constant interrogations and nights spent in solitary confinement, Coy confessed to the murder. In Coy's confession, it was discovered that Coy's wife was having an affair with Whalen, which set Coy into a murderous rage. On March 3, 1893, at 10:43 a.m., William Coy was executed, but his death was not without suffering. For most, as the rope becomes taut, the noose tightens and twists, causing the neck to snap and the spinal cord to sever, resulting in instant death. This did not happen with Coy, though. William Coy rebounded at the end of the rope, causing a deputy to intervene and prevent the thrashing body from moving. For the next 7 minutes, William Coy would hang until he exhaled his final breath. At 10:37 a.m., William Coy was declared dead and his sentence carried out. His body was cut down 17 minutes after his execution commenced. Molly and I arrived at the Second Street Jail at 7:30 p.m. We immediately entered the facility, collected the keys, and headed for the gallows. As we entered the stairwell, Molly noticed some writing in the dust on the stairs risers that did not give us an easy feeling.
While this was not paranormal, it led to an eerie beginning to the night. As soon as we entered the gallows, it wasn't long before something made its presence known. Molly was breathing clearly in the recording, and the phenomena could be heard over it. As Molly was walking around and checking the corners, it could be heard again as if something was following her. I was stationary setting up the camera, and the tone could not be matched to her breathing. As we were putting everything in place, I asked Molly to head over to the ladder and shine a light on the beam where we believed the executions were carried out. As she shone her light up so I could finish aiming the camera, we caught our first definitive EVP. I snapped my fingers twice to check the camera's audio levels when something seemed to speak right above Molly. At the same time, my HD camera caught the same EVP coming from her direction. EVP stands for Electronic Voice Phenomenon. It occurs when a voice is captured on electronic recording devices utilizing a frequency that is too low to be heard by the human ear. It is believed that a spirit can utilize its energy to make brief statements or words, either intentionally or unintentionally, and are often not heard by paranormal investigators. What we captured could not be explained, however, it was not the last time something tried to reach out to us. I was explaining the rest of the setup to Molly when something appears to attempt to talk over me.
Take this, shine it over. Take this, shine it over.
After everything was set up, we started asking questions and reaching out to any entities that were present. Shortly after we started asking questions, the microphone on Molly's phone began to distort the audio when I started speaking.
John 10 Ike and William Coy. Are you with us?
She continued to hold the camera as she had been the entire time, and this was a brand new phone, so there was no explanation as to why this would happen. Without realizing the distortion, we decided to start a spirit box session to see if we could get a real-time intelligent response. A spirit box is a device that rapidly cycles through radio frequencies and only broadcasts phonetic sounds. It is believed that a spirit can utilize its energy and cause one or two word phrases to emit from the spirit box. During our spirit box session, we continued to receive the same distortion as was previously captured. My phone timed out, causing the spirit box to stop playing. When this happened, Molly asked if it stopped. As soon as she did, not only did the distortion suddenly stop, but we received our first intelligent response from the spirit box.
Did it turn off?
While this might not be paranormal in nature, it was an odd anomaly that all of this occurred almost at the same time. We continued our spirit box session. Prior to entering the jail, I reiterated my research findings to Molly. One of my statements was not true. I told her that an inmate, James Callender, had declared his innocence into his death, and that he was the only executed inmate to do so. This was before I discovered that John 10 Ike also professed his innocence. However, 10 Ike was the only inmate to do so and be executed in the jail. Molly asked me if one of the inmates was innocent. When I told her no, since Callender was not executed there, I was corrected on the spot.
Didn't one of them claim he was innocent the entire time right up until his death?
That was the one that, that was the one from Lennox. But he wasn't executed here.
We started to conclude our initial investigation in the gallows so we could explore the rest of the jail. Earlier, Molly had asked what the door to the east was because it looked dark and ominous. When she asked, something could be heard taking a breath near her.
What the Christ is this?
As we were leaving to continue the investigation, a tall, dark figure could be seen standing in the doorway.
Hallway right there.
Yep.
That hallway goes above the cells.
When the image is brightened, the outline of head and shoulders can be seen. As this was a roof access and the walkway composed of 2 wooden planks, no objects were placed in here that could make this shape. While we continued our investigation in solitary confinement, the main cell block, and the second floor gym recreation areas, paranormal activity continued in the gallows even though no one was up there. Upon investigation of the area above the main cell block, there were no signs of owls or any other animal that could make this noise. These moans cannot be debunked as a passing vehicle. The vehicles, mostly motorcycles, sounded like this. Multiple vehicles were traveling this road during the night. Shortly after these moans, something could be heard walking around. Throughout the night, multiple footsteps could be heard on the wood floor, even though no one was up there. After approximately 15 to 30 minutes, the engine noise outside started to die down enough for EVPs to be heard again. Towards the end of the investigation, Molly and I returned to the gallows to break down the cameras and pack up. Notice how the footsteps on the stairs sound similar to the footsteps earlier. When we ascended the stairs, I decided to ask a few more questions just before turning the camera off.
We're going to be leaving.
At this point, Molly asked why we couldn't go more than 3 feet into the doorway above the main cell block. As I went to her with my flashlight to show her why, we received another EVP. This could not be heard with the naked ear. However, we were able to capture this on camera. After Molly and I left the gallows, we decided the best route would be to work from the top floor down. This would bring us to the recreation and education area. Here, inmates could read, work out, or work on academics. While walking around, we didn't experience any paranormal activity, but as soon as I started the spirit box, things started to get interesting. As Molly was checking the former classrooms, sounds of scratching could be heard by her phone. If Molly had been scratching her hand, the camera would have picked the instability up. Since we weren't able to hear this, we continued with the spirit box. At one point, I heard the spirit box say Molly, so Molly asked if someone was trying to reach out to her.
Are you trying to talk to me specifically?
What Molly heard was a male voice laugh, then reply with my At the time, I did not hear this. However, Molly heard it very clearly and commented on it when we were leaving the room.
I hope I was close enough to that when there's something that I could have sworn I thought I heard, but I would be fucking crazy if I heard that.
Given the gender populace of the inmates housed in this facility, the response we received is incredibly remarkable. After we left the second floor, we entered the south wing. We entered the south wing, and while exploring, I panned my camera over one of the staircases. Unfortunately, the video file would not import into the video software. However, I was able to pull what looks to be a face staring down at us. We didn't hear or see anything during our spirit box session. However, while we were leaving, Molly's phone experienced another odd audio malfunction.
Agreed. And that's how you get to the second floor of him.
Alright, are you ready?
Yep.
As soon as we exited the south wing, the distortion stopped just as quick as it started. Nervously, I asked Molly if she was ready as we were about to descend into segregation, or more commonly known as the hole. Molly and I started with an exploration of seg and inspected the cells for anything that might be interesting. During the inspection of the first cell, Molly asked why there was a rusty nail in the wall. I was in the hall away from her, and when I answered, "I don't know," something else could be heard.
Why is that nail there?
The voice sounds like it came from my spirit box. However, I had not turned it on yet. I started the spirit box and placed my camera on the green conduit and aimed it at the ball we placed on the floor. While my camera appeared to be recording, it suddenly stopped, switched to photo, then took a picture. The video could not be recovered, however all 3 pictures could be. While that looked like 7.5 seconds of a single photo, that was in fact 3 photos back to back to back. To prove that these are individual images, I've marked them with a red 1, 2, and 3 in the lower left corner. To take a picture, move the camera, and take the exact same picture would require a lot of skill and experience, of which I do not have. What's more, my GoPro is touchscreen, and I was approximately 3 feet away from it. After we received this EVP, we didn't receive anything further from segregation. We moved back to the main cell block, but again, nothing. It wasn't until we reached the sheriff's housing area
when we received our next EVP and strange occurrings. We made our way through the door and into the yellow room. I was explaining where the gallows were in reference to us when I panned my camera up the stairs and caught a voice letting us know where they were.
Alright, so this.
Yeah.
Alright, so this.
Since we did not hear this, we continued to the third floor. We didn't see or hear anything unusual at first. However, as soon as we went into the bathroom, my spirit box turned on even though no one touched it or turned my phone on. Molly's phone also caught this.
What the hell is that?
In order for the spirit box to work, my phone would need to be on and the app would need to be started. Since my phone was in my pocket and the app was turned off as soon as we left the main cell area, there isn't an explanation as to why this would happen. We received no other signs of paranormal activity in the sheriff's quarters.